People always said money could buy anything. But on the stormy morning when billionaire Ethan Cole stepped out of his SUV, he realized money had never prepared him for this. Standing on the porch of his remote ranch, his most private, heavily secured property, were three identical toddlers crying in unison, and a young black woman trying her best to calm them down, her eyes red from exhaustion. Ethan froze. He didn't know them. He hadn't invited them. And yet the moment their eyes met, he felt something shift in the air, something that told him this wasn't an accident, it was fate knocking at his door. Ethan slowly approached, confused, cautious, trying to understand how anyone even got onto this ranch. It was guarded, monitored, and meant to be completely off-limits. The woman stepped forward nervously, hugging her babies tight as if she expected him to shout, or worse, demand they leave immediately. Instead, he stayed silent, studying her trembling hands, her worn-out clothes, the way she tried to shield the children even though she was clearly exhausted, hungry, and out of options. Her voice cracked as she whispered that her name was Maya, and she was sorry for being there. She said she had nowhere else to go. That she didn't mean to trespass. That she only needed shelter for one night, but Ethan could feel there was more. Her fear wasn't the fear of someone caught trespassing. It was deeper, like she'd been running from something. Or someone. The triplets clung to her shirt, whimpering, tiny faces streaked with dried tears. Ethan, a man known in business for his cold logic and iron discipline, felt something unfamiliar tug at him. Sympathy. Curiosity. Responsibility. Whatever it was, it pushed him to unlock the door and gesture inside, telling her they could talk once the children were warm. He didn't realize then that letting her inside would uncover secrets that would shake the foundation of everything he thought he knew about trust, loyalty, and himself. The moment Maya stepped into the mansion, she hesitated like she didn't believe she deserved safety. She kept apologizing, saying she would leave as soon as the storm passed. Ethan watched her carefully, noticing how she shivered even indoors. The triplets, tiny, identical, with wide innocent eyes, were fascinated by everything around them. They touched the soft carpet. They tugged at the curtains. They laughed for the first time since he'd seen them. Maya collapsed onto the couch, not even realizing how tired she looked until she finally sat down. Ethan brought her a blanket, tea, and something warm to eat. She thanked him with a small, cautious smile. But when he asked how she found his ranch, her hands trembled around the cup. She tried to hide it, but Ethan had built billion-dollar companies on reading people, and he knew fear when he saw it. She finally revealed that she had once worked for a wealthy family as a cleaner. She lived quietly, kept to herself, and raised her children with love and discipline. But everything changed the day the owner's son, spoiled, entitled, and dangerous, developed an obsession with her. She rejected him, firmly. And suddenly, her life became a nightmare. She was fired. Stalked. Threatened. And when he found out she had nowhere to go, he made it clear she wouldn't be safe anywhere. Her last hope was leaving the city entirely. She had never met Ethan. She didn't even know who he truly was. She only came because an old caretaker once told her that the ranch, long abandoned and nearly forgotten, was empty during winters. She thought she could hide for one night. Ethan listened quietly. When she finished, he could feel anger simmering beneath his calm expression. Not at her, but at the men who pushed her to this point. What kind of monster targets a mother with 3 toddlers? Ethan wasn't sure what he was going to do next, but he knew one thing: Maya wouldn't be leaving this ranch until he understood everything, and until she and her babies were safe. Later that night, when the triplets finally fell asleep in a guest room, Maya took a deep breath and tried to explain more. Ethan could see how hard it was for her to relive the fear, but he kept his voice gentle, patient. She told him how the men who harassed her had power, connections, money, and a complete lack of conscience. She told Ethan she had reported him, but nobody believed a struggling single mother over a wealthy heir. The threats escalated. Her home was vandalized. Her car was sabotaged. The final straw was when she found a message carved onto her door: "You belong to me." That's when she ran. Ethan felt something inside him tighten. His upbringing had taught him that strength came from protecting the vulnerable, not exploiting them. He had lost both parents young, raised by a grandmother who drilled into him the difference between wealth and worth. Now, as he listened to Maya's trembling voice, he felt that old sense of justice rise again. But the moment that truly broke him was when she admitted she had been sleeping in her car with the triplets for 2 nights before reaching his ranch. The rain. the cold, the hunger. She endured all of it alone because she didn't want her children to grow up thinking fear was permanent. Ethan walked over to the window, staring at the storm. He realized he had two choices: let her go and hope the world would be kind to her, or step in and use his power to stop the nightmare for good. The decision took less than a breath. He turned back to her, his voice low but firm. He told her she and her children were staying, no matter what. That she didn't have to fight alone anymore. Maya's eyes filled with tears she tried hard to suppress. No one had protected her in years. No man had ever offered safety without expecting something in return, but Ethan wasn't like the men she'd met before. And she could feel it. The next morning, Ethan made calls. Many calls. To security teams, legal experts, investigators, everyone he trusted. He didn't mention Maya by name or her location. He only asked about the men she described, and what he found confirmed everything she said, and revealed even worse. The man had a history of harassment cases buried by his family's influence. He was volatile, obsessive, and recently fired from his own family business. That made him unpredictable. Dangerous. Capable of anything. Ethan returned to the ranch with a new determination. Maya was feeding the triplets breakfast, her hair messy, eyes tired but luminous. The children were already warming up to the ranch, crawling over the plush rugs, babbling happily. Seeing them safe inside his home stirred something in Ethan he hadn't expected, an instinct he thought he didn't possess. An instinct to protect. He noticed Maya flinch every time she heard a noise outside. He gently reassured her that the ranch was now fully secure. His staff had activated the perimeter, cameras, alarms, everything. No one was getting near that place without his knowledge, but Maya whispered that she didn't want to bring trouble into his life. That she didn't want to cause complications. Ethan almost laughed, but kindly. Trouble wasn't new to him. Complications were part of business. But this was different. This was a woman who deserved peace. 3 children who deserved a chance at childhood. He knelt beside the triplets as they reached for him with tiny hands, trusting him without hesitation. It hit him then, they weren't just guests. They were the beginning of something he wasn't ready to name yet, but he felt it all the same. Maya watched him quietly, tears gathering. Nobody had ever cared enough to stand by her. Nobody had ever chosen to protect her without gain, but Ethan wasn't doing it for gain. He was doing it because it was right, and maybe, just maybe, because he was beginning to care more than he should. 2 days later, everything came to a head. The storm cleared, but the threat did not. Maya's stalker found her abandoned car, and from there, tracked her last known movements out of the city. Ethan got the alert from his security team that the man was asking questions, getting closer. Instead of fear, Ethan felt fury. He prepared the ranch for confrontation, but before anything could happen, Maya approached him quietly. She thanked him for everything, every meal, every warm blanket, every ounce of kindness, but told him she couldn't let him risk his empire for her. She had decided to leave before she caused him any more danger. The words shattered Ethan more than he expected. He told her she wasn't leaving. Not now. Not ever. Because safety wasn't a burden, it was a responsibility. And because she and the children had already become something he never had, a family he wanted to protect. Before Maya could respond, a vehicle appeared near the outer gate. Security intercepted it immediately. The stalker had arrived, but Ethan didn't let him get close. His entire legal and security team surrounded the men with evidence, witnesses, recordings, and a restraining order backed by private investigators and attorneys. The man's arrogance collapsed the moment he realized he wasn't targeting a helpless mother anymore. He was standing against a billionaire who didn't tolerate injustice. Within hours, he was in custody. Maya cried in relief, holding her triplets tight as they laughed, unaware of how close danger had been. Ethan placed a warm hand on her shoulder, telling her that the nightmare was over. That she could stay as long as she needed. That the ranch could be home. She looked up at him, the men who had walked into his ranch expecting solitude, and instead found a mother and her children who would change his life forever. And for the first time in years, Maya allowed herself to believe in something she had forgotten. Hope.